booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you, Jason, for your time. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Good to see you.
It's good to be with you. The question of the day: who helps the helper when the helper needs helping?
Wow, I love that.
And that's
Uh,
all I kept thinking about Jimmy when I watched this. Do you think we're finally turning a corner in culture that it's more comfortable to talk about therapy and consider those who are tasked with the job of helping us be better?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it has never felt stigmatized to me. I've always been someone to ask for help when I needed it. If it does help anyone feel some comfort around that I think that's fantastic. I think that the truth of the matter is we're all here helping each other, and one of the things our show exposes is that, gosh, we're all human too. Even these people who you think are kind of infallible guides might very well be going through a breakdown in their private life.
Mhm. Talking earlier to Brett and Neil, and they were giving me some insight on what it was like for them to work together and share and swap stories. So, like you said, it's like a communal, we're all helping each other. What type of conversations do you hope the show would generate by using comedy as a vehicle to show the strength of communicating or seeking help out? What kind of conversations would you like to see?
Well, if this makes sense, and it is not a dodge to your question, one of the
No.
things that I think is really cool about making art is that you sort of, I think the healthiest thing to do is deliver it with no expectations. I feel really proud of what we made. I know what we were trying to achieve, and I think it's hilarious. I think it's meaningful. I think that I think that we use comedy to break down any inhibitions you might have about talking about any of this stuff. But then now is the moment when the show comes out, when it becomes yours. And
Mhm.
you get to experience it however the hell you want. You can think it's really funny. You can think it's really meaningful. You can think it's a show about a father and a daughter. You can think it's a show about mental health. You can think it's a show about grieving and loss. And that's the coolest thing about art.
Mhm. It has many, many facets for all of us to enjoy for sure. Working with Harrison Ford, this is the whole cast, very, very talented, immensely talented cast. What when you work with someone like Harrison Ford, what are the first days on set like? Is it banter? Because you've already communicated to get to that point. But once the camera starts to roll, what is that experience for you?
You know, part of what the show talks about is that underneath it all, we're all the same. And I think that the truth of the matter is, before they say action for the first time, everybody from Harrison Ford to me to the director to the guy operating the boom for the first time on a new show is nervous.
Mhm.
I hope this goes okay. I don't think you ever lose that. You know what I mean? I hope I'm prepared enough. I hope I don't forget my line. I hope I don't drop the boom. I tend to think that's what everybody's thinking.
I think so too. Well, there is my time. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Have a great premiere, and I appreciate you. Have a great holiday season.
I appreciate you too. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Lukita, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I love that this series kind of tackles who helps the helper when the helper's tired of helping. It can be overwhelming to be in that place. And your character, Alice, gets to have a front row seat of when that burn down happens and how it affects the people around them. When you first read about Alice, what do you think are the effects of someone like Alice when they're close to someone who has that designation of being the helper?
I think Alice is throwing up walls right now. She's really being defensive towards anybody trying to help her. And I think that she's learning how to be an adult while being a teenager. She's learning how to be the adult that she needs in her life. And I think that she's finding that support from Liz in a sense, but at the end of the day, she wants her dad to be there. She wants Jimmy to be there for her. And when he starts trying to kind of knock down those walls and get to her, she's not having it.
Mhm, mhm. With a series like that, coming out of the pandemic and people being isolated, mental health and self-care has become a very important topic. And this show uses like a comedic vehicle to further that discussions. You know, how do you think using comedy to discuss such important topics eases the land, straightens the land of the importance of the topic? What do you think of that vehicle?
I think anything that is furthering conversations and breaking down the stigma of talking about mental health is really important. I think that I grew up in a generation that was a lot more comfortable with talking about mental health. And I know I've been talking about my mental health with my peers since I was really young. And so I think just having conversations going and bringing some lightness to it is helpful, and it can be helpful for so many people. So I think it's definitely important. Yeah.
Mhm. When you first have your first day on set and you begin your first scenes on a new series, what type of reflections did you have on your own life that, wow, I felt comfortable talking about this topic for so long, and then here now I land in the middle of a project with a stellar cast, and it's me, and I'm here, and it's the dream. And so, you know, what reflections did you have for yourself?
I don't know if I was reflecting so much as panicking. I was just like freaking out that I was there at first. It was um, the most amazing company to be in, having all of these phenomenal actors to act beside was just so exciting, but also really scary. They are all so supportive though, and so kind, and just really brought me in under each and every one of their wings. And actor to actor was very generous with giving me space to play. And so I just felt very safe and supported. Yeah.
Okay, so then lastly, what is the technique for mitigating that fear factor? You know, where do you go inward since you already seem to be intuitive with yourself? What's the mitigate? What do you do? Do you go outside and scream or jump up and down? How do you get the energy out to get refocused?
I think the what helped me the most was listening to music. That was kind of my onset diffuser. I would just throw my headphones on and try and tap out a little bit, but also having conversations with these people and not kind of putting a wall, because I'm putting the wall between me and all of these people that I'm like, oh my God, you're crazy. But if I take the wall down and have a conversation with this person, they're just, you know, we're all here to do the same thing, and we're all here to tell this wonderful story. So I just needed to get over myself a little bit.
No, you did good. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful premiere. I'm excited to see the conversations that come out. Thank you again. Have a great holiday season.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you, Christa, for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Well, this is a really cool series because it got me to thinking about who helps the helper when the helper needs helping. And there's a whole crew of people who need to lift up our main character, and Liz is no exception. When you first read about Liz and what role that she plays into the life of John Segel's character, what drew you to that role initially?
Well, I mean, I have friends that I have that kind of relationship with, and I think everyone wants to help. You know, I think the show shows that, you know, if you need help, people want to help and be there. I think she's maybe taking it a little far because she doesn't want, she's having an empty nest problem, has to figure out her life. But, you know, I think she had the really good intentions trying to help this young girl.
Mm-hmm. I too, I could relate to that a lot because I have a kid in college right now, and it seemed fun at first to have the empty nest, but then you start to question your own immortality and your purpose. And now that that aspect is gone, what do you think those reflection time when you first experience, what is that that emptiness and self-reflection, what are the conversations do you think people in that position have with themselves?
I think sometimes it's overwhelming because if you've been, I mean, I've worked and been a mom to 3 children, so I've always had something. So it's a little bit different, but I do think that when I took time off after Cougar Town, I wanted to really be there with my kids. I had been working for 22 years straight. You see that the day looms large. You still have to have a life's purpose. I mean, I definitely relate to that. And I think it can be a little overwhelming trying to figure that out.
I agree. You spend so much as so-and-so's mom, and then your name is not that, and then you have to go back to your real name. And if someone's not going, mom, you don't even really know how to answer anymore. So I found a lot of joy in Liz too, because I can go a little overboard too from time to time, but it's okay.
Just from time to time, not all the time.
I love that the series is taking a different approach to therapy, because so many people are experiencing awakenings when it comes to mental health and prioritizing it into their life. What does comedy do with this topic in a way that another method can't?
Well, I mean, personally, my shrink is very funny. So he always makes me laugh. I mean, I don't know if I could go to a shrink that wasn't funny and we couldn't laugh at things. And that really is helpful. And I think now, because everyone can, Zoom different people, you can interview different people and find out all over the country and find out who might be the best fit for you.
And lastly, what type of conversations, instead of takeaway things, but just what type of mental health conversations do you hope the series will foster among people? Whether they're therapists or lay people or maybe people curious about therapy, just in general.
I hope it's that the stigma can go away, that you can talk about it. And also that, everyone needs to find different passions. Work doesn't have to be the passion. It could be all different things. And I think when you get older, your life should expand, and have more people in it. And they say that's good for aging anyway.
No kidding. As long as they're not up at 3 a.m. in the pool, as long as they're not doing that.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. I really laughed and I really enjoyed seeing your portrayal in this series. Have a wonderful premiere, and I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you too. What made me excited about seeing you in this series is being able to see you perform in your authentic voice, and how we have learned to connect with you while still talking about a topic that we as Black people are starting to turn the corner on and recognize and add to the betterment of our quality of lives. When you first got to read about your character, Gaby, what attracted you the most? And do you think we're starting to turn a corner on mental health discussions in the Black community?
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I love Black Girl Nerds. I think, you know, I've done therapy for a really long time. I think I like to treat my brain, which it just runs and runs like a car. And I like to think that if I do the maintenance over time, which is a lot of little therapy sessions, then, I don't have to wait until the car breaks down to have one big therapy session and try and fix it. And I think, being a woman of color, being a person of color, we've survived so much generational trauma in our day to day. There's things that we process and have to process living in America that we don't even register and talk about with each other, and that a lot of other people from other races wouldn't even understand. So yeah, I think it's actually really important, and I'm excited to play Gaby in Shrinking because she is Black therapist. She went to Spelman, and I wanted to create someone that people watching the show would want to see. She's very colorful, and she knows what she's doing. She's good at her job, and she's got her own problems. Like, I just wanted it to seem more human and accessible. And that was something that was in the back of my mind while doing the show. Also, I just wanted the show to be funny and entertaining. So
It is that for sure. It
Yeah.
raises a really great question. Who helps the helper when the helper is tired of helping or can't help anymore? So when you think of your collective of friends and who the helper in that group is, are we stepping up the helping aspects over the holiday season? Are we going to give the helpers in our friend group some help?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so I think in your 20s, I think you spend a lot of time hanging out with people you don't like that much. And when you're a teen, you hang out with people out of convenience. 20s, you're figuring out what you like and what you don't. You're figuring out how your friend group's going to shake out. And now in my 30s, it's like I have this thing now where for my helpers and when I help people, it's like I don't take advice really from people that don't really go to therapy that much or just aren't familiar with any of that, because it's like it's just kind of not helpful. But I really love my friends and I feel like I can trust them because we've known each other for so long. And also they're very emotionally intelligent people that I trust with my heart and my feelings. And that's really important too. And then I make myself available for them as well, because that's actually kind of what it's all about.
And all about indeed. Well,
Yeah.
I thank you for your time. I
Thank you. I
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks
You
for
too.
chatting.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, guys, for your time. I appreciate it.
Of course. We appreciate you. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for chatting today. I love that this series kind of answers the who helps the helper when the helper gets tired helping, because no one thinks about the burnout of therapists and what they've been charged with, what they hear. And to use comedy as a vehicle to discuss that was very, very, very sweet for me to see. Brett, beginning with you, when I was talking to Bill earlier, he talked about how meaningful it was to have sort of personal conversations in the room about what we were experiencing and how that helped him open up and make him more effective in working with you all to bring this to life. What did those conversations do for you to help you work with the team to bring it to life?
I believe that creativity only happens if you make yourself vulnerable, and to do that you have to feel safe, and you have to feel safe to open up with there's that thing Brené Brown talks about of like you have to be careful who you're sharing everything with. Like vulnerability isn't something that you should just openly share everything with everyone and overshare, and actually that's quite dangerous. And so if you're making a show like this, you have this group of people who are coming together, and you have to create an environment where everyone trusts each other and feels safe to share whatever they're sharing from their personal experience, from their family, from their past, and that we will then take elements of that, and we might just take the emotional feeling of it and turn it into something else. But yeah, I don't think you can sort of make good stuff creatively if you're not being open and really looking inside and all that.
For sure. Neil, over to you. Do you feel like we're turning a corner? I love that the show is using that comedic vehicle to kind of pull back the curtain on the stigma and why prioritizing mental health is so important for the givers and the receivers. So what do you think that comedy does in a way that a seriously toned show can't do?
I think it reflects reality a little bit better, because the fact is, as dark as things get, there are generally speaking, it's always accompanied by these sort of absurd moments or just nostalgic things that unexpectedly make you laugh, even in the darkest situations. So it's that idea that it's not linear. It's not grief and trauma, these kind of things and experiences, and they're not linear. They're not. It's not one shade. It's a big spectrum of feeling, and I just think that leaning into that is for me a bit more of a mirror of the way it really is. So the goal always in the show on so many levels is to try to keep it as authentic and real as possible, and that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good. It's landing at Christmas. We all going to be together again after being inside for so long. So we need all the comedy we can for the holiday season and sort of foster these discussions with each other. So that's always a great thing. they are wrapping me. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you very much. Lovely talking to you.
Lovely
Thank
to you
you.
as well. Have a great holiday season.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
It's good to see you. How are you?
It's good to see you as well. I'm great. Thanks for asking. I really liked how this series made me ask myself, well, who helps the helper when the helper needs helping? And we never think of therapy and therapists as burning out, or maybe they just get tired of listening. No one ever really considers those things when seeking therapy. Why did you want to tackle this topic and use comedy as a vehicle to discuss a subject that is very important and is very discussed in the media and culture right now?
Look, it started from a place of wanting to write. I like to deal with serious things with a laugh, with comedy. It's how I get through my own life. My dad's struggling right now, and we laugh about it in ways that I think make me able to get through it. Brett Goldstein, one of the co-creators, his father's got Parkinson's. We laid it into the show. So we started from a place of wanting to tackle grief comedically, because the world's a dumpster fire right now, and you can't talk to anybody without someone saying, me, my kid, my parents, a friend is going through some garbage, And so we started there. I like to demystify and humanize these things. The show Scrubs kind of pulled the lid off doctors a little bit, and there were still people that cared. And I hoped it was still respectful, because it was based on my best friend, JD, who's a cardiologist and a heart surgeon out here. Look, we're Hollywood dudes, the three of us that wrote this pilot. And so we're all shrinked up, and so we know a lot of therapists, and the wish fulfillment aspect for some of them, because we're trying really hard to be authentic, of being able to just tell people what they should do. So like we've seen it and heard it all before. It's a big responsibility, like you said, because if we screw it up or we're inauthentic, it would be irresponsible. And so, there's got to be consequences for the behavior in this, but it's a fun world to live in. I hope it works. The other thing you said, just to circle back around, is at least just the feeling of a community of people looking out for each other. I'm a big believer in mentorship, and it's a through line in all my shows. And so I hope that people see it's not just doctor-patient, but neighbor to neighbor, friend to coworker. We got to help each other out a little bit right now, man, or we're all going to drown,
I couldn't agree with you more. We have to wrap our arms around each other. Do you think we're starting to turn the corner a little bit on people feeling comfortable or even seeking out just people to communicate, not even particularly therapists, but just are we venturing back out after being cooped up for so long and reconnecting with people? And are those the type of conversations you hope will come out of people watching this?
I think that's I think it's a really astute question, because I've made a truth and jesty joke about, I grew up in a very waspy family in Connecticut. And if I had told my dad, like, hey man, you want to sit around and talk about our feelings? He would have been like, are you drunk? Because you're too young to be drinking, man. And, and he's like, why don't you go outside and jump in a lake somewhere and just kind of shock yourself back awake again? So, yeah, I don't know if it's a product of being cooped up a lot, or if it's more specifically for me. I surround myself with young writers on shows like this from all different backgrounds, so diverse, so many ages. I'm the oldest one by far, don't get me wrong. And part of the writing experience is to sit around and tell personal stories and talk about what you're doing and what you're going through. Yeah, people seem not only more willing to do it, but like they need to do it right now, and look, as a guy that was pretty repressed, it's helped me a lot in ways I didn't expect. So if this does anything to destigmatize that, that'd be great. End of the day, just hoping people dig on the show and are entertained by it,
I think they will. It's got wonderful elements and a topic that people are uncomfortable talking about, and maybe this will help foster some family conversations over dinner. So that's always awesome. I thank
never
you
know.
so much for your time. I enjoyed it. I have a great premiere, and I'm very excited to talk about the show with other people. Thank you so much.
Hey, I really appreciate anytime I hear such an astute question that's kind of off the how'd you meet Harrison Ford track and stuff. So thank you so much. It was fun to talk about.
Well, I want to talk to you. You know, no disrespect to Harrison. We love Harrison Ford, but
Yeah.
hey,
I appreciate it. Have a great one, by the way. Love your site. Talk to you soon.
thank you so much. Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.